Everybody, welcome to White Line Fever. Welcome to White Line Fever Live. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, like they always say on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast, welcome back. And we've got an amazing guest. I think I last interviewed this fella, it was the previous century, from Stryper and Sunbomb. Michael Sweet, coming to us from Beantown, from Boston, is that right?
Yeah, right outside of Boston, Plymouth, Mass. America's hometown is what they refer to Plymouth as, and where the good old Pilgrims landed. Yes.
Yeah, and you were down in Baltimore, near Baltimore, on the outskirts of Baltimore at the weekend for M3. And I know we're going to talk about Sunbomb because that's who organized this interview. But your last social media post was interesting because you made a comment about your in-ear setup, and you said it kind of stuffed you around at the weekend.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been using in-ears for quite some time now. And when you go from in-ears to wedges or side fills, there's quite a difference. And then if they're not dialed in, there's a huge difference in a not so positive way. And that's what happened at M3. I went out there and I was just floored by the level of the side fills and primarily Oz's voice. Couldn't hear my voice. And I watched a lot of the videos, and obviously pitch was not great. And I felt terrible because, people pay a lot of money to come see a show, and I want it to be the best show possible. And that was not a good representation of the band, or at least of myself. So, I wanted to post about it. I wear my heart on my sleeves. I'm pretty open and honest. And I thought, I'll let people know.
Yeah. This is like life's full of new experiences, and I guess it's a new experience to be doing publicity for one project 2 days before your main gig puts out a record. I mean, it's a weird new world, isn't it?
It is. It's a very weird new world, and it's kind of been my world for the past 10 years, to be honest with you. And I say that humbly, of course. I've got a lot of projects going on, and a lot of times those albums overlap. Whether it's Stryper solo, Sweet and Lynch, Iconic, Sunbomb, Soul Driver, all these projects going on. And it is a little frustrating at times because we've got Sunbomb out and we've got an acoustic album that's just coming out now, we announced. And then we got a new electric album. You're going to hear the first single from that, Stryper, in July. So it's insane.
Yeah, well, because the nice publicist who did set up this interview, we should talk about Sunbomb, and there's one. It's called "Light Up the Sky." Is that a Van Halen reference? The album, and the song that's out now is called "Unbreakable." We don't really know too much about it. I know Alexandro Del Vecchio recently left Frontiers. He's a big cog at Frontiers. Did that have any impact on this project?
It did not, because this project was finished prior to that. But, Alessandro, man, he's a sweetheart and extremely talented guy. We all know that. I don't know what happened. I don't really want to know what happened. It's not really my business. But, yeah, they parted ways. And there is a guy now who's kind of filling in for Alessandro, taking over Alessandro's position. His name is Aldo. He's a wonderful guy as well, and a very talented guy as well. So, I think life will go on for everyone. Everyone will be okay. Everyone will continue doing what we're here to do and what we love to do, and it'll be all right in the long run.
Did Alessandro contribute to this record?
He did. He actually co-wrote the lyrics, sent me a lot of the lyrics, and then I went through them and rewrote a bunch of stuff and added my spin to them. And he certainly was a part of the co-writing. Absolutely.
It was hilarious in one interview I read where you said this project should be called Guns and Moses. But the first album was it was metal. It wasn't much like Stryper. It wasn't anything like LA Guns, and it was powerful and direct, and the guitar playing was in your face. What can we expect from the second record? Because I think, me included, we've heard one song,
Well, I think this album, personally, the songs, this is just my opinion, the songs seem a little bit more structured. And what I mean by that is on the last album, and this is not a negative thing, this can be a positive thing. A lot of people prefer this, but the songs had a lot more going on in terms of rhythm changes and chord changes and almost like 2, 3, or 4 songs within one song. This album is more focused and direct, and the songs are a little more straight ahead. And I like that. I prefer that. It makes it easier as a singer to kind of come up with melodies and lock in. I think it's a really strong album. It's a really strong follow-up, equally as strong as the first album, a little different, which is something you should do. You should mix it up a little bit from album to album, but not venture too far away from what you're doing. You don't want to alienate your fan base. Once you have a fan base, you got to be cautious not to change things up too much, because you can lose fans in the process.
Yeah. And during this period, I guess the impact that you had, with some nodules on your throat and also with eyesight, were you coming out the back end of that when you were working on this, or was it still affecting you, or what impact did that have on it?
This album I recorded before my surgery. I had nodules I had a nodule on each side of my thyroid. So thyroid nodules. And one of those got larger and larger. It was biopsied and it was cancer. So they removed half of my thyroid, this half. This half I still have. I have a nodule there still that's cystic. They're going to keep an eye on. I had to start thyroid medication. But I mean, I had the surgery back in December 15th. Okay. So I just finished the vocals for Sunbomb prior to that, went in and had my surgery. And then when I came out of surgery, I started on the new Stryper album. So it was really wild and just a absolute blur, Well,
so certainly emotionally, even without physically, right? So emotionally, you've got to push through what is I guess, a really trying time in your life. And then to talk to us about the impact on your voice and your concerns about that,
Yeah, I mean, I could feel the pressure of the room and the space in that area with those nodules getting larger. I could feel it. And it's been like that for a few years. I've had them for a while. But, I had to have it removed because of the cancer, and I dealt with it right away. But, I mean, having that side of that thyroid removed, they had to cut through some muscles. So I can really feel it. Just feels different. It's the only way I can describe it.
But you can still sing well.
Yeah, my vocal nerve was not damaged. I went to the best doctor in Boston who specializes in that, specifically, not damaging the vocal nerve. He uses it as a very particular monitoring system, and he's kind of wrote the book on that. And no damage to my vocal nerve, thank God. But still, it feels weird when I sing. It feels like someone's kind of has their hand on my throat. Yeah. It's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of people listening and watching to us, this is a subject they would have been exposed to recently because they would have watched the Bon Jovi documentary, where obviously surgery is a central part of that. And I was reminded in researching for this is that you actually opened for Bon Jovi their first show in LA. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Did you watch the documentary? I guess now 2 levels it would have resonated with you. It would have resonated because of your own history with the band and also because you were going through a similar sort of ordeal.
Yeah, we were. We basically came on the scene at the same time, like exact same time. Obviously, they were quite a bit bigger than us in terms of success and whatnot. But I'll tell you, I've always respected John. And the reason why is, I can relate to him because I'm a perfectionist. He seems to be a perfectionist. He seems to be one that strives for the best in everything that he does. And I'm built the same way. I think we're cut from the same cloth. I'm not comparing myself to him at all or him to me. And then, I respect him as a writer and as a performer and as an artist. And then to know that he's going through vocal issues, I feel his pain because I'm going through vocal issues. It might be different, but it still has an effect on you. And it really plays with your mental state, your physical state. It really plays games with you. And it's hard to go out in front of an audience knowing you have to perform when you can't perform,
Mm.
or you can't perform to the best of your ability. It's really frustrating, and it's a difficult hill to climb. And I relate to John, and I pray for him, and I respect him, and I think he's an incredible guy to keep moving forward. And all the best to him. I hope everything turns out great for him.
And that's probably a great segue for the song we're going to play, which is called Unbreakable. Is there anything else about the song that people should know before we play it? Just for the people listening, for the people watching, we're going to continue. People listening, anything about Unbreakable?
Well, it speaks of lyrically about how, no matter what we go through, and we all go through our own battles, we have our own issues we have to overcome. If we have the right attitude and perseverance and we keep moving forward, we are truly unbreakable. Don't let something break you down, and don't give up because of that. It's one thing. Move forward. Keep moving forward, knowing that you're unbreakable, and there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more life to live and a lot more to do, and that's really what the song's about.
Welcome back to White Line Fever, second part of the interview with Michael Sweet. Really want to thank him for his time. Now, I want to wind back the clock a few decades. When I was a 21-year-old cub reporter in Sydney, I'm the one who sent Fred Nile a copy of your record and led to all that amazing publicity.
Nice. You're the guy. You're
I'm
the guy that started all.
So I want to, and I remember the first time you came to Sydney and you went around and did a whole bunch of publicity with the promoter. I don't remember the promoter's name. He had a nice car, but
his name was David Smallbone.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So I just want to, how do you look back on that period and that sort of mania when you first sort of landed in Australia, which was driven by, I guess, something that was in the news every day, and you were top of the news, all the current affairs shows. What are your recollections?
Yeah, it's interesting that you're asking that question right now, because we're part of a movie called Unsung Hero. They did a remake of To Hell with the Devil. It's called To Hell with the Devil Rise. And it's for King and Country and Lecrae and myself. I played a solo on it. And that's David Smallbone's sons, Joel and Luke.
Wow.
So full circle. We just went to the premiere a few weeks ago in Nashville. But it's just very interesting. David was the promoter, the first promoter that brought us to Australia. And it just incredible that he took a chance on us and brought us there. And because of David taking that chance and risk, we basically, the rest is history, as they say. I mean, we've been able to come back to Australia a number of times, and we have a great fan base there. And it's just so incredible. We're so grateful for that.
Not only was, I guess you were like almost not only the first Christian heavy metal band, which was at that stage was considered to be a contradiction in terms, but you were kind of like the first real sort of what we would now call hair band, if you excuse me using the definition, or the term, but to actually tour Australia. I mean, I remember walking down the street in North Sydney and someone walking past going, "Is that guy wearing makeup?" Like it was a really kind of a groundbreaking tour, and you played big places. And I guess there was a degree of mania about it, wasn't there? How the whole Fred Nile thing, how did that finish? You made your peace with him or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I hope he made his peace with us as well. But I mean, we spoke to him and met him, and I think, especially going back to 1988, that period, 85, 6, 7, 8, 9, it was unheard of to see a band like Stryper, and it was shocking to many people anywhere in the world, not just Australia. And I get that. I look back on that and I understand it. But at the same time, thank God looks at the heart and not the outward appearance. And we were just basically being ourselves. We weren't trying to, be anything other than that. Yeah. We came out, grew up in the rock scene in Hollywood, and we continued on doing that, but changed the lyrics, and we became Christians. And, that was a hard pill, a big pill for some people to swallow.
I often ask people of our vintage, I guess, about sliding doors moments, about things that could have led them in a different direction. And in your case, there was a where the band actually went bankrupt as a company. the band broke up. There were times when you strayed from the path. There's been one giant lineup change. And I just wonder if you can look back on your career and see a few points, a few forks in the road where things could have, and even now you say you can't get on certain supports. You can't support Iron Maiden. Even in 2024, you think that there's that promoters feel uncomfortable putting you on certain bills, even after all these years. So are there forks in the road that you can identify as a person where things could have gone a different way?
I do, and I try not to dwell on that and let it eat me up inside, because it can do that. You can go down that road and it can become very negative very fast. I'm grateful for what we have. I'm grateful for the fact that we've been able to do what we've done and accomplish what we've accomplished. It's unheard of, actually. We are a band that has gone against every stereotype, everything that is supposed to be. We did the opposite, and somehow managed to be successful in the process. And headline venues, played to sold out crowds worldwide year after year for 40 plus years. So it's really quite an accomplishment. And I'm kind of blown away by that. But, I'm grateful, man. And I'm still sitting here talking to you, and people are still coming to the shows. We're getting ready to do some big touring this year, celebrating our 40-year anniversary, and I'm very grateful.
Everybody watching, welcome back. Third and final part of our interview with Michael Sweet. Want to thank him for his time. If you're listening on the podcast, welcome to White Line Fever. And you've heard Michael Sweet on the last two episodes, and this is the final part of the interview. And we're going to start with some questions from readers of the great Hot Metal, which is back as a website now. It was in its heyday when Stryper toured in 1988. Chris Herbert, as an old metal fan who is middle-aged and losing his hair, I want to know how Stryper and all these 80s bands have held on to their luscious locks.
Well, I haven't held on to all my luscious locks, but I've held on to enough to still not have to wear a wig. And I'm thankful for that. I'm very thankful for everything that I still have. I can still go out to some degree and perform and pull it off and do what I need to do. But yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
How does Stryper keep a balance between their faith and the stereotypes of the musical genre without alienating fans on both sides of the religious fence? Big question.
Just be yourself. Don't think about it. Just do you, and be respectful in the process. But man, you got to stay true to yourself. You have to present who you are. Otherwise, you're not being real. It's a facade, and it's important to be real. For me, it's very important.
That was Alexander Tate. Paul, there's not too many of these, mate. Don't panic. Paul Haynes, with so many side projects, including Sunbomb, Sweet and Lynch, Iconic, and multiple solo albums, plus a huge amount of Stryper albums, does he ever forget a song or the lyrics mid-set? And will there be another Iconic album?
All the time, man. I mean, I just shared with you before this interview. You were talking about Sunbomb songs and picking out some songs. And I said, I don't even remember the names of the songs. And it's like, I mean, just being truthful, it's like it becomes a blur. And sometimes these days I need some lyrics on the ground of the stage, and or on an iPad or an iPhone to help me through it. And people think, wow, that's not professional. I know a lot of guys that do it. I know Rob Halford's done it before. Some of the guys in Boston, when I played with Boston, we had teleprompters. A lot of bands do it. There's a lot to remember.
Yeah, Gary Lansdell said, "What is the title of the new album?" But that only narrows it down to about 3 or 4 albums, doesn't it? So I think all the titles are public, aren't they? Maybe the Stryper Electric isn't public yet, is it?
Well, we've got the acoustic that we just repackaged and re-released under a different name. That's called To Hell with the Amps.
Yep.
I thought that'd be a fun little spin to do. It was called Acousticized prior to that. The new album, I can't give the name of yet.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a press release. But I can tell you this. It's not like the past few albums in terms of the title. It's a little different for Stryper, but it's really cool. And the meaning behind it is even cooler.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to hear that. And someone said, Justyn McDonald said, were Stryper ever on festivals with devil-worshipping bands? And if so, was there tension? To which Chris Olsen responded, they played last year with King Diamond. Michael posted a photo. Apparently, they had a pleasant chat. So I don't know. Do you want to say anything about that?
We did. We had a pleasant chat, took some photos. He was a sweet guy. Yeah, we played a lot of festivals with a lot of quote unquote devil bands, as he put it, satanic bands. Yeah. Oh my gosh, from the very beginning to now. Sometimes we're accepted, sometimes we're not. Sometimes people cheer, sometimes people boo. We've gone through it, and it's sometimes downright scary to step out on stage. I'm not going to lie. But we always do it, and we somehow always rise above and make it through unscathed, and we're very, very happy for that.
Okay, well, I got one more question from a reader, and it's a very broad brush question, and then I've got two quick ones, and I'll leave you in peace, mate. The question from Michael Meister is, what would he put Stryper's longevity down to? Another big question.
Oh man, well, that comes down to hard work and effort. I think Stryper is a band, especially speaking for myself. I'm a person who, I don't stop, man. I eat, breathe, drink, live music. And I love the opportunities that I'm given, and I take many of them. I don't take them all, but I take many of them. And I love to create new music and produce and record and release new music and perform. So I think everybody knows that. And I think that's the answer to the longevity, is just continuing to do what I do, what I love to do, and I'm passionate about it. And I hope that shows and comes out. And I think that's the answer right there.
Okay, my last two questions, I'll ask them both at once. One was, there was a nice picture 2 years ago or a year ago from one of the cruises with you and Sebastian Bach. Sebastian was offended because you said you'd like to produce him. And it sounds like the new record is more in the vein of you described in that original interview that offended him. Sounding into the new record, it sounds like it's more classic. So I wonder, maybe will you get the chance to produce him one day and work with him? And secondly, I thought we should mention CJ Snare, because obviously it's very, very sad recent passing, and the fact that he was obviously with Perry in Firehouse, and it probably rocked Perry a fair bit. So I thought I'd just ask you those two questions. We'll get a third song, and I'll leave you in peace.
Well, the Sebastian thing, I was actually asked to produce an album by the label Frontiers. He was on Frontiers for a while. Serafina wanted me to produce him. And we were talking briefly about the possibility. Sebastian, myself through email, and his manager. And they decided to go down a different path and do something different. And that led to some comments over time that weren't necessarily positive from both camps, which led to like this public, I don't want to say war, but public exchanging of words that wasn't so positive. And, we just realized, like, this is just silly. On the cruise, at the KISS cruise, we basically apologized, hung out, and everything's good now, man. And thank God, because it really was silly. So I wish him nothing but the best. I think he's a great artist, great singer. He's got a great new album coming out or out already. And God bless him. He's doing great, as he should be. And regarding what was the last?
CJ Snare.
CJ. Yeah. Yes. That came as a shock. I mean, we were not expecting it. I think CJ kind of wanted to keep it private and didn't let people know how bad things were. And obviously they were much worse than we thought. And he passed, as we all know, and it was a real shocker, man. And obviously Perry, our bass player, played with CJ for years in Max Warrior and Firehouse. So they were dear friends, a lot of history there. So really heavy heartbreak for Perry. And, our paths crossed many times with Firehouse. So it was an honor to pay tribute to CJ in 3 recent shows. And we'll continue to do that. And God bless him and the family and the fans and the friends. And our heart breaks, man, with everybody. It's terrible.
It's a sad way to finish the show, but I think it's appropriate. So thank you very much for your time, Michael. And if we could just have one more song.
One more song, man. I'm gonna say, why don't we go out with the Firehouse song? We covered a song called "All She Wrote."
Oh.
And it's if there was one Firehouse song that could have been a Stryper song, that'd be it. And we enjoy playing that song, and let's pay tribute to CJ, and God bless CJ. And I think that's a perfect ending.